to Jake Jackets. Gear up to fire the cannon and hit the ice with your host, Jay Ashdown and Jake Gehringer.
Crazy.
Oh my
The
god.
second greatest movie of all time was released.
I mean,
22 years
that
ago.
is okay. Alright, we're actually running it on the timer where, like, people can hear us.
Yeah.
That is, we're I guess we're just gonna fucking shoot the shit and start with that. That is one of those, we're just talking about Shrek, like, as the thing is ending. That's one of those rare instances where the sequel is so much better.
One of the very few. That's why I say Shrek is the second greatest movie of all time, because number one is Shrek 2.
God, I loved the Shrek 2 DVD and like all the features and stuff like that. It was so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Far, Far Away Idol.
Far, Far Away Idol. The director commentary was great
Yep.
because Conrad Vernon is hilarious.
Yeah.
He's one of the better like DreamWorks people.
Yeah. It's just it's one of the things.
Did you ever watch the dailies? Did you watch
No.
the dailies where it was just like really crappy like pre-render animation and stuff?
No.
Oh, some of it was wild. Anyway, okay.
We do have a bit to talk about.
We do have a bit to talk about. A lot of today is going to be off-ice stuff, which is wild.
Could be worse stuff, off-ice stuff, though.
It could be worse for a lot of different things.
For the standards of this league.
For this, I guess. But I do want to go ahead off the top and apologize for last week because we were going to shoot, or we did shoot. We recorded, and I edited, and I rendered, and I did all of this stuff, and we were going to have it ready, and life found a way.
Life finds a way.
I overslept during both days. I was gonna try to
Yeah.
get the last episode up.
Well, sleep's important. I'm not upset with you, and neither should the fans.
I mean, y'all know what I do for a living. Y'all kind of get the sense of my schedule. Working overnights is kind of tough when you do something like this.
Yeah.
You know?
God, yeah.
Oof. But you know what's not as tough is placing bets with our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. I can't believe we're even in the conference finals already, man. We're already halfway done.
Crazy.
This playoff, like, speaking of time going by too fast.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeesh. But yeah, everybody can still light the lamp as we head into the conference finals during the Stanley Cup playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can make a $5 bet and score $150 in bonus bets right away. So looking at the money lines tonight, tonight as the Eastern Conference final between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers gets underway today. The Panthers are a plus 130 and the Canes are a minus 150. So they are the underdogs going into this series despite being the higher seed when everything started.
Wow. Yeah, it's funny how like playoffs like kind of changed like your perspective of everything. But it's just how it is, you know. Like
that's just how the Panthers have rolled this offseason.
Yeah.
We'll get to that like at the end of the show.
Absolutely. So,
But, like, wow.
I mean, it seems to be a good bet to jump on right there.
I'd probably put, like, if I had enough to put down, I probably would bet on the Hurricanes because they've started every series.
They started off
super
strong
hot.
every series. It's funny, like last year, they couldn't win on the road to save their lives, so they had
Right.
to rely on playing well at home. This year in the playoffs, they can win on the road.
The Road Warriors, yep.
But they're still damn good at home. It's a tough place to play.
I mean,
what are they? They're probably like I would guess like 5-1 at home.
Well, I mean, think about their fan base and how passionate Raleigh is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have Hurricanes friends, Timbo and quite a few others.
Yeah.
I have family that lives in Charlotte. So it's just, and you look at the runs that they've gone on, sure, they need a cup run in there. They need a
Oh,
cup win in
absolutely.
there.
And that's something that we talked about before the playoffs, where it was like I was a little hesitant with the Hurricanes because they've been so damn good in the regular season, but I wanted them to show me something in these playoffs, and so far they have.
Well,
And
that's a lot of these teams. That's so many of
right,
these teams in this league.
it was the Hurricanes, it was the Leafs, it was the Panthers,
The Panthers, especially over the last couple of years,
where they finally end their
they win a President's Trophy and they didn't
they
go
win the
anywhere.
President's Trophy and they win our playoff round, but they don't really look that great in the round that they win, and then they get smoked in the second round, which we'll talk about Toronto later.
Oh boy.
But, yeah, I like the Hurricanes for this bet. I think that's a very logical bet, especially for where the money is at.
And then the money line in the Western Conference Final between the Dallas Stars, yeehaw, a little bit of Yee-Hawkey, let's go, and the Vegas Golden Knights. I love this series. This is a rematch of
Dude,
2020
I love
bubble.
this
This
Final
is
Four.
amazing. This is so awesome. A
You know
Sun
what's
Belt Stanley
funny?
Cup Conference Final.
Because you bring that up, and I'm just like, I saw it on Twitter the other day, and I, for the life of me, could not freaking remember it because it was in the bubble. Like, I've forgotten so much about the bubble that when I
Right.
saw, oh, this is a rematch of 2020, I was like, when the hell have these two teams ever played each other? That was the conference final in that year as well.
Exactly. It's crazy.
Yeah. So
And
it's
and get
interesting. I'm excited to see how that goes. It's the Pete DeBoer Bowl.
it's the Pete DeBoer. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
And
if the
if
Devils had moved on, we would have had 4 teams.
we would have had the what was the joke? It was the
Pete the final. I don't know.
the final to four. That's what it was. There we
Oh,
go. Yep.
yeah, that's fantastic.
That's
That is
so good.
fantastic.
Damn it, Jersey. We miss you. Anyway, okay. Money lines for the West. It's a plus 105 for Dallas to take game one and a negative 125 for Vegas. So Vegas is going in as the underdog this series. That's wild. Then again, Dallas has kind of wrecked shop this playoff.
So Vegas has home ice. Okay. That's kind of what I figured. Yeah, that's an interesting. We'll get into this later, but I don't know. I'd be on Dallas for game one. I like those odds, and I like their ability to win on the road. They're coming off of a long series, which actually could be in their favor because I think that they can ride the emotions of that Game 7 win, another tight win. Pete DeBoer 7-0 in Game 7s.
I was gonna say we could talk about that at the end too. Like, wow.
Yeah, craziness.
But yeah, let's get in on the conference finals, everybody. You all can with us as well. Let's get some Yee-Hawkey going on. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code THPN. New customers can make a $5 hockey playoff bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. All of our fun stuff in the disclaimer, as it always is. Playoff Kepis. Do you want to just do this at the same time? Because I can't even remember what conference we're in. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Wyatt Johnson.
Aiden Hill.
We both went west.
Yeah, we did.
Kinda
Which is funny because this is the trend. Like,
well,
and it's not
didn't we both go east of
We
the
just
one that
did
didn't
the
go
east.
up?
Yeah, we did.
Wow.
So, yeah. Obviously Wyatt Johnson's got a bigger sample size than Aiden Hill because he just recently got in on the playoff action. But man, I really respect Vegas in the fact that they have almost turned into a Tampa Bay Rays level of factory. Like Tampa Bay always has great pitchers. Like
Right.
it's like, oh, like you can watch a Rays game and you're just like, oh, this guy's 27 and he was a used car salesman 3 years ago. He had 97-mile-an-hour cutter, and his ERA is 1.71. And it's like, where the hell are they finding these guys?
They find the next Dave Steeb just on the street. Like,
Yeah, they're ridiculous with this. And you look at Vegas, look at the 3 guys that they have primarily used all season long since Robin Leonard has been out all year.
And there's outside of that, there's developments that he's not really like. There's not too much progress going on. Poor Robin.
Yeah, I'm wishing the best for him and his
Yeah.
snakes.
Well,
But like, so when it comes to Vegas, like, look at their three guys. Logan Thompson is a guy who he did not
brilliant.
have NHL experience prior to this season, but they signed this guy to a 3-year extension at such a low cap hit.
And
It's
he's
such a brilliant
fire.
move. He's fantastic
Oh.
at the end of last season, all of this season, and they haven't even had him for the playoffs. Who they had in that? Oh, 2 career backups in Aiden Hill
Laurent
and
Brossoit.
Brossoit, and they've both been phenomenal for him. Now, granted, Brossoit's numbers did dip a little bit before he ended up going out because he unfortunately had to face the first 3 games of Leon Draisaitl,
Yeah,
which is enough to do that to anybody.
Yeah. poor Bros. But like Bros too. He was the backup to Hellebuck for a couple of years there in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
And we know how Helly like just carries the burden up there.
Yeah, that's a guy who like he's like Vasilevsky in the sense that like it's not like your normal goaltender where you're getting, hopefully these days 60, 62 games. You're getting 67, 68 starts for Connor Hellebuck, right?
Yeah, usually your starter, if you're going to be a starter like that, you want to cap out around 60-ish.
Because
right?
we've seen like how goalies can almost burn out a little bit. Like Cam Talbot is the prime
With
example
73 back in 2017, right?
And yeah, and then you look at like, if you're one of those guys, like top end guys, you can get away with it if you're Hellebuck and you've done this for a long time. If you're Vasilevsky, you've done it a long time. Not only are they great because they're fantastic between the pipes, but they have such durability and everything like that. I look at these guys on Vegas, like Aiden Hill started 25 games this year, 16, 7, and 1, 245 goals against average, and 915 save percentage. And then he jumps into the playoffs and his numbers go up, granted, small sample size, but 934 save percentage and a 219 goals against average.
He's, it's funny because Aiden played in Arizona. Woof. And we'll talk about Arizona later.
And then it got even worse when he went to the Sharks.
Yeah. And he was fine, but because it's Arizona. And then he goes to the Sharks and he's competing with Reimer and Kakkonen.
Yeah.
For the backup spot.
Which, good Lord, I mean, you want to talk about a bad decision by management. The Sharks kept Kaapo Kakkonen and James Reimer over this guy. Now, not saying that this guy is taking them to the playoffs or anything like that. Like, are things that much better in San Jose if Aiden Hill's in net? Probably not, but
But he's 27 and he's like, he's got so much gas in his tank.
Yeah. And I think this is something that we see with goaltenders like this. We're seeing it more often. Like if you're a higher drafted goaltender,
and just to get
overseas, like an Elvis, like a Sorokin or a Shesterkin or anything like that, like we're talking about guys who are drafted high and are expected to come over like basically immediately.
Askarov
Askarov is definitely going to be probably one of those guys, although a little bit of an outlier just because they have at the moment, you say Saros,
right?
But your Vasilevsky's who is drafted 19th overall, super high. Carey Price was one of those guys.
Right. Yeah. Obviously,
Hart was a second round pick, a high second round pick, and you expect these guys to come over, and you're hoping that they're ready by age 22, 23, 24. Whereas a lot of other goaltenders selected later on are really breaking out around age 26, 27, 28, and I think that this is a guy who could be one of those guys. Now, is he a starter?
I think does that just not speak to what like goalie development is and just how they peak later and that kind of thing in general, like their overall development curve?
Yeah, like every position kind of has a development curve. Now, no, skaters have relatively similar, like in terms
It's a
of
little earlier though for a skater
it's
than
earlier, but there is a gap. Like you're more likely to see an 18 or 19-year-old forward flourish in the NHL than an 18 or 19-year-old defenseman.
and
But
especially an
over
18,
time,
19-year-old goalie.
when was the last time we saw a 19-year-old goaltender in the National Hockey League?
A
I
19-year-old
genuinely
goalie. God.
cannot remember.
Dylan Ferguson.
He's not 19, is he?
Not now, not anymore. But I remember Vegas throwing him to the Wolves up against like Tampa or something a couple of years back.
But okay, so like in that case, we're talking about like maybe perhaps if you're a team that's gone through like 4 or 5 goaltenders,
Right.
like if you're like the Flyers a couple years ago when they went through like 7 goaltenders, or
Or the Devils
Devils
last year. Yeah.
with Akira Schmid. I know he wasn't 19 at the time, but still he was damn young.
Mm-hmm.
Or shit, if the Blue Jackets had a 19-year-old goaltender that they just randomly started this year.
Well, I mean, if
Pavel Kajan, or whatever his
poor
name is.
Kajan,
If he got time with the Blue Jackets, he would be thrown in there. But
yeah,
yeah, like I'm interested to see what happens with Aiden Hill, because I don't think that he's going to factor in long term with Vegas's plans, because I think
no.
long term their guy is ultimately going to be
Meanwhile,
why am I blanking on his name right?
Logan Thompson.
Logan Thompson, yes.
Meanwhile, they've also got Jonathan Quick in their back pocket. Like,
Yeah, that's the other thing. They got Jonathan Quick there too.
and he's been
Crazy.
great ever since he got there.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, okay, so just great pick with Aiden Hill, and to touch on why I picked Wyatt Johnston. Obviously, a series clinching goal is always amazing, no matter who it comes from. But to come from a rookie who is this good.
Yeah, and he deserves some love. He's not going to win the Calder, but shit, I'm glad that he got consideration for it, because I mean he's fantastic.
Oh,
What
yeah.
a pick for the Dallas Stars.
I mean, that just adds on to the young core that they have now with Rope and Jason and Miro.
I think
and Thomas Harley with the coming out party. We'll talk about all of them later.
and Niels Lundqvist. We've been so focused on the last like 5 years with Dallas about the underperforming of Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, and
and the contracts
a lot of
and
money. Those contracts aren't great. In the last 5 years, while all that's been going on, the Dallas Stars have probably under the radar had top 4, top 5 player development in the National Hockey League.
Some of the best young talent development in the last few years.
And they've been really damn good with it.
And in net too, with Ottinger, getting to learn from Ben Bishop, and
he's a first-round pick.
Yep.
So, you think about a guy like Jake Ottinger, and then Miro Heiskanen, Niels Lundqvist, Thomas Harley. Think about guys like Rope Hintz.
Jason, yeah.
Those guys are phenomenal. And obviously Wyatt Johnston. I'm curious.
Hanley and Harley, really, like both of them.
Well, Hanley's an older guy.
Still, like them getting their chances, and we can talk about all this later. But Wyatt Johnston, Aiden Hill, perfect little Western playoff Kepis there. Some fun picks there, and I hope that's going to be a fun little. Yeah, that's going to be a fun little clash, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see who gets the better of that series.
Yeah,
the battle of the Kepi.
The battle of the I like that. Okay, we're gonna start with our boys in Union Blue, because I think what else would we do?
Yeah.
What are we, a Coyote show?
I was gonna say that was a nice rhyme. It wasn't intentional, but it was a nice rhyme.
I got a couple tweets from our old insider buddy Brian Hedger.
Yeah.
Question for CBJ Nation: who do you want them who do you want them to hire as coach? The vast majority of Columbus Twitter wanted Larson fired. You got your wish. Now you've trashed every single name that's come up. Literally every one. So who do you want? Maybe a fan collective to run the bench? I mean, I go, okay, Brian, thanks for the little like jab, but like he's right.
I mean,
though.
it was funny.
Yeah, but he's
I'm
also
okay with
kind
the
of right.
jab as long as it makes me laugh.
Like I say, he's right. The fact that Yarmo is considering a lot of the internal candidates more, but then you look at the external candidates that have been brought up, of course we're going to say no to some of those.
Well, yeah, because you're bringing up the wrong candidates.
Yeah, you're not bringing up guys that have good resumes as people as well as coaches. Like
So
that
who do
that
we wanna
leads
start
to
with? Do we
that
wanna-
leads to let me read his other tweet.
Yeah.
If I may. This broke about an hour ago. The Jackets won't name a head coach this week. We're already coming up, but this is going to post on Friday, so like that figures. Right? So Jarmo Kekalainen, who's leaving Sunday for the World Championships, says there's another interview lined up next week. The decision might wait until after he comes back on May 29th. So we got a little bit to wait.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's imperative the timeline of it, to be honest, because we already like the good thing about the Blue Jackets is the stability. We have stability in the front office. We've had Yarmo here for a decade. We've basically had JD here for a decade. I know he left for a little bit with the Rangers, but he's back now. He's not going anywhere. There's stability there.
Right. There's executive stability.
Exactly.
But there's never been coaching stability.
Yeah. So, that's what we're looking for. And the good thing for the Blue Jackets is you don't have to worry about the executive stability because oftentimes that impacts your coaching stability and who you hire.
Right.
But Yarmo has to get this one right.
That said, we know that this entire league loves going to the landfill, loves going to the recycling bin.
Oh, Jake, question for you. Why are coaches hired?
To be fired.
Yep.
So we talked about this just in our personal discussions, that whole thing with Quenneville as an option.
Yeah.
Which, first of all, no. Because he has to be approved by the league, and that's not happening anytime soon.
He also has to be approved by the fan base.
Yeah, and I highly, highly doubt, because he's been in considerations with the Rangers job.
So the Rangers.
So, like, how did we read into that? Like, you said I read into that a little wrong.
So the Rangers. So here's the thing that people were complaining about was people automatically connected Quenneville to the Rangers because that's the team that's trying to win a Stanley Cup.
Yes.
That needs a coach who can bring them there. And obviously, one of the first names that's going to come up is a guy who has won 3 Stanley Cups.
Right.
To mention, he has ties to both Patrick Kane, who is an unrestricted free agent, as well as Artemi Panarin, who is under contract with that team.
Right.
So a lot of people naturally thought he might be considered by them. Like that might be an avenue.
At least a consideration, right?
And the Rangers came out and emphatically said, "No, we are not considering him."
Now Columbus didn't come out right ahead of that
and said, "We're not going after this guy." But I feel like people who are complaining about, oh, the Blue Jackets haven't said anything on that front. Well, the Blue Jackets haven't been connected to him on that front. The Rangers had to come out and say it because there were reports and people out there speculating like, oh, this is something that they could do. Nobody has said that about the Blue Jackets.
No, there's no actual ties to anybody within the organization talking to Quenneville or his camp or anything like that.
Like the Blue Jackets don't have to come out with a report saying that they're not going to hire me to be the next head coach of the Blue Jackets because they haven't been connected to me.
Right, exactly.
There you go. There's your comparison. They don't need to come out and say we're not interviewing every single candidate that they're not interviewing.
I want to see Jeff come out with a tweet like, unfortunately, I will not be considered for the head coaching job. I will still be your insider, though.
Yeah.
That would be kind of funny.
Like, so that's all I have to say on that. Like, I don't think we're gonna go. I don't even think we're considering him. If
That's
we
at
are,
least on the Quenneville
yes.
front, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The other two external candidates, right? Peter Laviolette has gotten some consideration.
Now, there's nothing wrong with Laviolette as a person.
No.
Nothing. And he's got a good track record.
He's got a nice resume.
He a long time ago, but he did win a cup. He's had stability basically almost every single place he's gone to, except for really Washington, which even then that wasn't like a really short stay.
Right, and a couple of our Washington friends on Discord have been like, Lavi, but that's just because his Washington tenure was kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind an experience like the thing with Laviolette versus a guy like a Bruce Boudreau, and we're on the Bruce train just because we've
been on the Bruce train.
Yeah, we've been on the Bruce train. Bruce is a huge players guy that also knows how to keep things together.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not militant.
He's a mix of both.
Yeah, he's a good mix of both. He's not a militant like a Torts Sutter.
Right.
And he's not completely free flowing.
Yeah.
But he allows the players to do their thing at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's why we're on the Bruce train, right? I haven't paid as much attention to how Lavi coaches per se to know where he stands in that.
Lavi is definitely closer to Bruce than he is to Torts, but he's kind of in the middle.
Still more of a hard ass.
A little bit more. But the thing about Peter Laviolette, and this is, I am not going to be, if the Blue Jackets hire Peter Laviolette to be their next head coach, you are not going to see me come on this podcast and be upset about that hire and say it's a bad hire. The reason he's not among my top choices is because where he's at and the kind of coach he is, I don't believe that it's a natural fit. I think this is a head coach who, and he has been connected to the Rangers, should be going to a legitimate contender to try and bring out the best in a group for 2 to 3 years to see if they can win a Stanley Cup. I'm not entirely sure about him coming into one of the youngest teams in the league and relying on this guy solely for your player development. Because when I say that this next head coaching hire is important, I don't mean just in terms of on-ice success, wins and losses. You need to develop these players.
Yes, this is a very young core that needs time.
You need to get the most out of Kent Johnson, the most out of Cole Cylinder,
the most out of Kirill Marchenko,
the most out of Yegor Chinikov,
the most out of David Jiricek.
And when it comes time, Corson Kuhlmans. When it comes time, Denton Matacek. When it comes time, Jordan Dumais. All these guys. And the third overall pick, whoever you may pick. Right. You need to get the most out of these guys. And I'm not saying that Peter Laviolette can do it, but I'm not entirely sure he is the best fit for that. You know, if the Blue Jackets go out and they hire a coach who's not going to take them to the playoffs for the next 2 years, it actually is okay.
It's kind of beneficial, as long as you see progress.
The results are what you're seeing in Buffalo with Don Granato. That's fine. I don't think the fan base is going to be too hung up about missing the playoffs 2 more years if you see the growth that you see in a player like a Tage Thompson.
I mean, they also like
you know what I mean?
We haven't, we weren't that way this year.
Yeah.
Near dead last in the league and still 11 sellouts, dude.
Let me tell you something.
The fan base is going to be fine. I think there's enough patience with this fan base. I would hope. You know,
We've been talking about Patrick Laine and how he's kind of rounded out his game a little bit more.
he wants to play center, which is awesome.
Okay, but think about this. Winger who transforms to center, who was a freaking giant, who's definitely not going to be great at faceoffs, but
Right, but you don't really need
it
that.
has a great shot. Is this not like, if you get the right coach, is this not literally Tage Thompson all over again? Like, I know Tage was
You're
out of
right.
nowhere compared to Laine, who has been around and has been, naturally gifted for some time. But if you get a head coach who moves Patrick Laine to center and he gets 43 goals and 43 assists next year, oh God, you know what? I think I can stomach maybe not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because
be
there's more
fine with me.
important things with this group than, say, wins and losses. And my fear is Peter Laviolette can actually get you some wins. Could
And
he
we
take
can
this Blue Jackets team
chill.
to the playoffs the next 2 years? I think he could.
He could.
But what does that give you long term with the core that you're trying to build?
We can chill about who's going to be in the core the longest term because Johnny's got 6 more years here. Patrick's got 3.
KJ's got another year on his ELC, and then he's going to be an RFA, and you're going to extend.
Yeah, there's RFAs. Like, those are going to be fine. They just need raises.
Cole Sillinger, too, is going to be an RFA. Yegor Chinikov.
Daniil's an RFA, right?
No, Daniil has actually got 2 more years under contract. He signed a 3
so he's got some turn.
a little over $1 million. So you're good on that front as far as goaltenders concerned with contracts,
right?
But 2 years from now, David Jiricek's going to be an RFA, and
like restricted free agents are different.
Yeah, you've got a young team. Things are going to start to come together, and you're going to have general control over these guys.
Yes.
You want to make sure you develop them properly so you can maximize this as most as possible.
Case in point, the big name that got everybody talking, Mike Babcock.
Yeah.
Which is dead no.
Absolutely not.
Dead in the water no. Why was that even okay, I know I said to you that it came from Pierre LeBrun and he likes to stir the pot every now and again.
It seemed legitimate, and nobody has refuted it.
He had an interview. Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, which is probably plenty of you, at least casual wise, where do we begin with Mike Babcock, just to make it kind of quick? Psychologically abusive? Is that a good way to put it?
What a lot of players have said. Mike Commodore definitely doesn't have nice things to say about him.
No, he doesn't.
This is a guy who scratched Mike Modano and prevented him from getting 1,500 National Hockey League games played.
Yeah. He legitimately mind fucked with Johan Franzen.
Yep.
To the point where he was
didn't love the game anymore.
Yeah. To where he was getting therapy.
Yeah.
And all of this. There was the Chelios thing at the Winter Classic.
Yeah.
The big, more recent one was the Mitch Marner incident back when he was a rookie and having to make a list about work ethic, which is that's not how you coach players, dude.
Yeah. This is what I think is interesting. And I know this is a far gap, but I want to just throw this out there. Another reason why I don't like this. When you negotiate any sort of contract, whether pen hits paper or not,
right,
it does create a little bit of a relationship to where even if this player doesn't sign here, we can work with you down the line in the future potentially.
Are you talking about the Marner offer sheet?
Yes.
Okay.
It's interesting to me that the Blue Jackets, now no offer sheet was signed, but there was clearly a relationship and a liking from Jarmo Kekalainen to Mitch Marner, who I'm not saying he's going to be a Blue Jacket. Please don't take it.
No.
But
And I personally,
he
like, as a
could
big Mitch
potentially
guy, I don't want to see him as one of the core four moved. But like,
he, at this point, might be the most likely to be moved just because he has more than 1 year term on his contract. So it
right.
might be easiest to move him. So it's interesting to me that this guy, who in 2 years could become available,
Yeah.
or right now, if you wanted to make a trade, you could throw out an offer.
hmm
This guy you clearly like and clearly would like to have as a part of your team in the future, if any way possible it can come up, you would even consider getting the coach that just badgered the ever living hell out of him and made him very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And he did that with more than just Mitch, right? I'm sure he did it with guys like Kadri. He's
Oh God. Yeah.
scratching Spezza.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about the Spezza thing?
Yeah. No one was safe with this dude. And not
Jason Spezza, veteran player at that point, Toronto kid, but played a lot of his time in Ottawa. Home opener against the Ottawa Senators. What would have been his first game as a Maple Leaf. He's in the press box.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I'm going to say. Okay. On top of all the very valid points we're making about this guy as a human, let's just talk about him as a coach for a second. First
700 wins is nothing to sneeze at. Like, let's be frank. He's got a great winning resume.
A while ago, Jake, like, if we're going to say this about Peter Laviolette, that, the success hasn't been as much recently, we have to say this about Mike Babcock too.
Right, because he's also...
Mike Babcock had a good track record in Detroit, where he last won in 2008, the Stanley Cup. Peter Laviolette's last cup came in 2006, so there's only a 2-year gap there. There's a guy who didn't win a playoff series with the Toronto Maple Leafs, was a part of that.
Right.
Didn't find a way to bring out everything he needed to in those guys.
Wasn't even a great college coach back in his home of Saskatchewan.
And after the Red Wings, won the cup in 2008 and got to the final in 2009, how many playoff series did they win after that? Like, maybe like 3 or 4, I would say.
Maybe,
it was not a lot of success for them. They didn't get back to a conference final after that.
Well, the biggest thing with them was just trying to
keep the streak alive.
Keep the streak going, yeah.
So, let's look at that from that perspective. Like, on top of all the things we've said about him as a person and as a coach, verbally, and things that he's done, his track record in the past decade is virtually identical to Laviolette. So shit, if these are your two candidates, it's a no-brainer.
I would, if we're talking about these two guys in particular, right? Hands down, the preference is Laviolette.
Oh God, yeah, no doubt about it.
Hands down, preference is Laviolette.
But my guess, and I'm just throwing this out there early, the next coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets has not been fired yet.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a spicy take.
Yeah. And I have 2 particular guys in mind.
Okay.
One, Sheldon Keefe.
You're right. Yes, I did hear you talking about this recently.
2, I don't think is likely to be fired, but shit, if he got fired, I think he would be.
No, I will. Okay, on the Kiefer front, I would love Sheldon Keefe. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Would love Sheldon Keefe. And I would hope that his system, because we've seen how his system works in Toronto.
His system work here.
You think?
Dude, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely it would.
I mean, you need a little bit of back checking, but
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think it's fair to say that within 2 years, the Blue Jackets are going to have a way better defensive core than the
Mhm.
Maple Leafs have ever thought of having.
I mean,
When
when you're
got
throwing
Werenski and Yarachek and all these other guys that,
when you're throwing Justin Hall out there for 32 minutes.
yeah, the other guy. Now, I don't think the chances that this guy gets fired are above 50%.
Okay. Right.
I would say, it's a 55-60% chance that he stays.
Let me just
Maybe
very quickly say I'm guessing Gallant's out of the question because previous relationship, whatever. Eh.
Mike Sullivan.
Mike Sullivan. You're right. I don't
Job is not
know.
100% secure. And
I don't know how he wasn't fired with Hextall and Burke.
I wish he was fired with Hextall because he's a damn good coach.
Well, like I don't know how. Like if they cleaned
Yeah.
the house so much with the 3 guys that they did let go,
Mm-hmm.
how wasn't Sully a part of that?
I think it's a situation where they're saying we're going to find a new GM, new president of hockey operations, and we're going to let them make a decision. And my hope is that whoever comes in says we want to get our own guy. But Mike Sullivan, well, I mean, you wouldn't be moving too far away. You'd stay in.
Right.
You'd have a chance to kind of rub it in the Penguins' face.
Yeah, you're right. If they did let him go and Columbus scoops him up, that would be kind of a fun revenge story, wouldn't it?
Oh, and also not to mention, this is a guy who is good friends with Torts,
You're
who
right. Who's
I think
who's in
Torts will tell
Philly?
him. I think Torts would tell him Columbus is a good place to live. It's a good place to coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like I don't think I don't think the chances are high that we're going to Mike Sullivan.
Right,
But
but still,
there's no guarantee
that's
he's
a
going to be
fun.
fired. And if he
Yeah,
does, he could maybe go to the Rangers.
he could.
But man, the things
But
I do.
the biggest thing, though, to think about is that their biggest, um, their biggest idea, and I'm talking Yarmo, JD, the McConnells and company. Um, they're all very, very much still looking internally.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see around, going into
And this
June
is
where
where
we're at.
this is where the timing of it is unfortunate because I think back to I don't want to say like it was a failed experiment hiring John Tortorella, Jake. It wasn't. Okay.
No.
But what would have happened if they don't start off 0-8,
Mm-hmm.
even if they miss the playoffs, but like they finished with 81 points and then they
Right.
fire Tom Richards. Who do they hire? Jared Bednar.
Oh, you're right.
Coming
Oh
off
my
the hurt.
God.
My concern is before they ended up taking literally the entire Monsters roster because of all the injuries.
Oh.
Great. And I worried
Cleveland was great, and
I'm worried that if
look
they
at
have a
Betsy
good
in
year,
Colorado, and
we're gonna be saying, man, Trent Vogelhuber, he got away just like Bednar. But it's too early to hire him.
yeah, it's too early to tell with Trent, which is a shame because I would honestly,
I like him.
I would love to see what Vogelhuber could do with the big boys.
I think he could do it. I'm not saying like you should bring him up now. He could do the job right now.
No,
But
no.
in a year or 2 or maybe 3, I think this guy can handle this at a National Hockey League level and be a good coach.
And that's
I
why
see a
if
little bit of
we're
Bednar in him.
yeah, that's why if we're looking at the internal options and we're looking at this little like, you know, reconstruction window
Mhm.
and just looking for the development of the younger guys,
Yeah.
if we want to stick in house, Pascal.
Yeah, no, like he's the only option if you're sticking.
Yeah. Well, like because Vincent's been in touch with Yarmo this entire time, and it's like that whole relationship with Pascal Vincent has been the strongest.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But that's the coaching search for y'all right as to this point. They've looked at Laviolette. I don't think they've had a formal interview.
Yeah.
They did have a formal interview with Mike Babcock. Ew. I don't know why.
Hopefully the questions in the interview were like, why'd you torture your players?
Exactly. What is wrong with you?
They should do
Internally,
like one of those like interviews where it's like, we're gonna give you a scenario and we want to see how you'd handle it. And it's
we
like,
want to
we have a legendary player who's at 1499 games played in his career. What do you do?
We want to
Do
see
you A, play him, or B, scratch him like an asshole?
Here, Mike, here's something we want from you. We want you to make a list of the effort of all the teams that you've coached over the decades. From
well, you know, with these kinds of lists, I like to leave no doubt.
Well, you know, they've all been pretty good players, and
God, I cannot. I'm not even kidding. I don't think I'm gonna have the stomach to continue doing this show if they hire Mike Babcock.
I don't think. I think they have the good graces enough to not do so. I think that this organization has the integrity to not do that.
I would argue that if that's the case, you just don't even interview him to begin with. But shit, what do I know?
Well, they
at least it's not Quenville.
Yeah. At least it's not someone who covered up sexual assault for over a decade. Anyway. Do you know what a dupe session is?
I don't.
I think we're in one right now. There's a lot of things where we're looking at life right now. Everything's so expensive and everybody still has their brand loyalty, right?
Of course.
But nobody wants to pay like $7 for a name brand coffee anymore.
No.
Like, why?
$1.69 at McDonald's.
Exactly. It's the exact same thing that you're paying for. Pretty much the same kind of quality, but you're paying a lot more just for a specific brand.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know. There's a lot that you can get with the same kind of quality and even better quality at lower prices.
I like deals.
I like deals too. And one dupe you definitely shouldn't sleep on, Raycon wireless earbuds. Raycon's premium audio at perfect price point. You can listen to whatever you want when you want without breaking the bank. Usually, like for someone like me, I like listening to music while I'm working all the time, when I'm on walks, things like that. With these cheaper earbuds, they're a lot easier replaceable if you lose them in a workplace like mine.
Yeah.
They're a lot more comfortable. There's a lot of, like we mentioned, the inflation that's going on with everybody right now. Everybody's bills are a little too much.
Yeah.
So you got to get your cheaper options and compare your prices, right? But you want to make sure that everything's quality. And Raycon makes sure of that as well. You don't have to pay an arm and a leg for quality sound. You can get a pair and a spare and still pay less than you would with regular, bigger name brands out there. They know what's going on here. They offer 2-year product protection insurance for just a couple of bucks. Their easy and free return guarantee is great. And there's free domestic shipping.
I like the protection because, you know, headphones are definitely something that within 2 years can get lost or damaged or anything like that. So it's a good protection to have.
Yeah, exactly. Free domestic shipping, and I think it says, flat free international shipping as well. So, like, a lot cheaper to get them shipped to you, which is always nice. Thanks, Jeff Bezos. And the best part, the reviews. 50,000, over 50,000 5-star reviews. So, like, people know what's going on with Raycons.
Wow.
People know what's going on.
Like a baseball stadium amount of people.
Yeah, like a really fun baseball stadium amount of people. A nice little sellout there. They offer customizable sound profiles. There's the noise isolation that we always love. There's 8 hours of playtime, so you can use them all throughout your shift. If you're like at a desk job and you just like want to chill out and
there's nothing worse than like you're 3 hours into your shift and your headphones die and you're just like, oh, I still
right. Yeah, especially if you're in a job like mine where you have to have one in after the other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, the 8 hours of playtime is brilliant. They're water and sweat resistant, which is really cool.
So I sweat a lot.
Fun workout earbuds, right?
I don't work out. That's no why I'm sweating. I'm just a naturally sweaty
just
person.
a natural sweaty guy, right? And the custom gel tips are nice and comfortable, and you can mix and match them and have fun with that. You can get in on it yourself. All you got to do is go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to score 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score 15% off. buyraycon.com/THPN. Okay. Our favorite desert dogs, man.
Yes.
Let me pull this. God. So to start, I want to go with the fact that going into 23-24,
Mullet.
the Coyotes will be staying in Arizona. They are going to stick around in Mullet Arena next year.
Yeah.
Beyond that,
They will still be in Arizona.
We don't know, but we hope so.
So here's a couple of different notes that I think are interesting on this topic, okay?
Let's just go ahead and say this now. The results of that referendum vote
were even worse than we could have imagined.
Yes, it was like 50. All 3 propositions failed.
Yes.
For the arena district.
Yeah.
And it was like a 56% vote towards no.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was bad, guys. It was really, really bad. And I feel awful for our friends that are fans of this team. I feel awful for our friends that are fans of this team, dude.
Yeah, of course, because like, sure, the team's still here for now, but it's something that just lingers over you day after day after day, and
poor Clayton Keller. Oh, poor Clayton. God damn it.
Here's the thing. Okay. I'm just going to say it off the top.
Man.
I don't think they're leaving. And the reason I don't think they're leaving is there's a couple reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One, the league does not make any money if they relocate.
Right.
People bring up Houston and Salt Lake City and all these other cities.
Now, Salt Lake City, Salt Lake City and the guy that owns the Jazz, he has interest.
Yes. Because they're working on a rink, I think, because they're getting the 2026 Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's already in motion. But I think Salt Lake City and Houston are going to be the top 2 destinations for if/when the league inevitably expands again. The league's interest purely financial here. So you want to maximize any sort of Houston or Salt Lake City NHL ventures through expansion rather than relocation. Relocation doesn't make you a dime. It actually considerably loses you money if they go to a Canadian city because you're dealing with Canadian dollars rather than the American dollar. Quebec City is completely out of the picture.
Yeah, and they don't. Like they've come out saying that numerous times that Quebec City wasn't even being
Not happening.
considered. It's
No Canadian city will be
no.
considered.
Not even a team in Saskatchewan, which a team in Regina or a team in Saskatoon could work. I know there was like all those decades ago, there was the rumors of the Blues moving.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting. I mean, I think back to the rumors of the Penguins moving back, before they got Crosby.
Get Jim Balsley on the phone. We get a team in Hamilton. And...
Well, I was thinking like I'm surprised that we haven't had more interest in Kansas City, but that's another topic.
Patty Mahomes coming out and he's got interest in that.
I don't think the league wants them to move because it doesn't make them any money, and I think they badly want to make this work.
Well,
So
this
if
is
you're a
okay.
fan, if it means anything to you, I don't think they're moving. I don't. It's
We
just gonna be a
throw
headache.
we throw the term pet project out there.
Yes. Because it works, because they're dogs.
Yeah. It's like the weird experiment gone wrong that like, they're trying to desperately try to fix the small things and make things right. There's a lot of things that Gary can't fix with this.
Mm-hmm.
Like by himself. Like
the biggest issue is not the market.
No, it's absolutely not the market.
It's not the sport of hockey.
There's absolute support for hockey in Arizona. Look at what the junior teams are doing. Look at what the Coyotes did to help grow junior hockey in Arizona.
Look at the playoff crowds. When they made the playoffs, it was I think 2008 until 2012, they made the playoffs just about every year. They made it to a conference final where they faced the Kings. The whiteouts were cool. They were selling out games. The crowds were loud. People care about their sports in Arizona.
Yes.
And they care about the Coyotes.
Hockey can work in the desert.
No, it's just no matter what they do, they never, ever, ever get it right with ownership.
They can't make a profit to save their lives.
It seemingly gets worse every time, every single time. It's unbelievable to me. They have not found a single person who can own this team and have credibility with people within the city.
That 2004 to 2016, those 12 years, hemorrhaging, bleeding money.
Yeah.
Losing over $50 million at one point for 1 year.
It's brutal because this is what happens when you don't put anything they haven't made the playoffs since 2013 unless you want to count the bubble.
Unless you count the bubble, but
which technically they made the playoffs. It's not even just a technicality. They beat the Predators. So
they won a play-in round, sure.
The one time they made the damn playoffs, Jake, it was in Toronto.
Right.
In front of nobody.
Right.
That is just
it was in Edmonton. That was the Western,
Oh, yeah, screw me. What am I talking about? Yeah, it was in Edmonton. It was in Canada in front of nobody. That is the one time they've made the playoffs in the last decade. That is just the epitome of bad luck.
Then again, you're also selling out the mullet still, even though, granted, sample size and whatever with capacity, but still, you're selling out just fine.
Seeing people care. They'll go to the games and they'll have fun with the games.
Your buddy Jay Fresh has a quote from how do I put this? Giddy reporter Frank Zaravalli.
Okay.
It's I think back to when he got butthurt over not breaking one story first, and I can't take anything that Zaravalli says seriously anymore.
Serengeti.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But this is what we're talking about with the ownership situation, right? They're always so cheap. And with the ownership that they have now between Maruello and Barraway, never mind Barraway being arrested, which probably had some influence on this vote.
And this is like, here's the thing, like, being cheap sucks, but you can get away with being cheap so long as you at least have some sort of credibility.
Invest in it. This is what we're talking about. The investors towards the public vote, towards both sides of this public vote. The Coyotes and Maruello obviously side with vote yes, right?
Mm.
$250,000. That's all Maruello put into this fund.
It's a joke.
Meanwhile, the opposition, upwards of $2 million. You are a billionaire, sir. What are you doing? You paid your lease late for Gila River Arena. You're not paying your players on time. You're not paying any of your staff on time. Who
is approving these people?
How? I know what financial tomfoolery looks like. I've been there. I've been bad with my finances before.
Oh my God. It's just.
How do you do this when you're a billionaire?
Nobody does it like them, man. How on earth does this keep happening to them?
How do you do this when you're
Where do they find these people?
And this is the most stable owner that they've had.
I feel terrible. Like, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing just because of how ridiculous
you gotta laugh through the pain, right?
Yes. Because I care about them. I want this to work. They've got good fans.
They've got great fans. They've got amazing jersey designs.
Jokes that people make about the Panthers,
Shut up.
Coyotes. Shut
Shut up.
They have fans. They care. Sorry, they don't have millions upon millions of fans because they're not an original six franchise. And
sorry, they don't have the best team, but you have Clayton Keller. You have Nick Schmaltz. You have Matthias Michelli's going to get a huge raise, dude, when he's up.
And this is what, you talk about how cheap he is.
Yeah.
Do you know who might get traded this offseason?
Matthias Michelli?
No. Nick Schmaltz.
Oh.
He's not even making $6 million a year against the cap.
Oh, Schmaltzy.
But his actual dollar amount, is way higher than that. So they might have to trade him because they can't afford him.
Because they can't afford the salary that they're paying.
Who on earth is approving these people?
Okay, all right. So we've dogged on this. Yes. Go ahead, slow clap for the pun, please. We've dogged on this whole situation, but now I want to talk a bit more about the positive spins on this, right? Because there are very small glimpses. Because it's
students are gonna have another fun year.
It's not over yet. It's not quite over yet. We're fighting tooth and nail for this thing, right? Craig Morgan, slow the talk of relocation, period. I did not expect to say this today, but I am now hearing that there's still a path forward for the Coyotes in Arizona. Trying to find the next thing. Now, this was sad. This part was sad because I know Gutierrez, their CEO, has been speaking more than Maruello himself.
Yeah, he needs a mouthpiece.
Alexander, sir, talk, not out of your ass.
Yeah,
talk yourself. You own this team. Speak, right? Speak. Bad dog. From Gutierrez. All right. To our pack. This is the season ticket holders, right?
Yeah.
While we are very disappointed Tempe voters did not approve the proposed entertainment district, we want to thank all our loyal fans who supported the Coyotes over the years. Your loyalty is what makes our pack strong. During the 23-24 season, the Coyotes will play at Mullet Arena. In addition, we remain committed to Arizona and have already started re-engaging with local officials and the sites to solidify a new permanent home in the Valley. We look forward to sharing more with you in the coming weeks. Xavier Gutierrez. So on that front, they are looking at the Fiesta Mall in Mesa as a potential option. Now, the thing about Mesa and the Fiesta Mall, and like everybody watching this can just see Jay silently losing his mind.
Oh my god, you cannot. I don't want to cut you off, but it relates directly.
Go ahead.
Did you see the tweet the Coyotes put out today?
Yes, I did. And it's a joke poll. Like, let's be frank, it's a joke poll.
An hour later, Teamwork Online put up an like senior director for social media for the Coyotes.
Oh.
Holy shit.
Oh my god, these guys. All right. So the Fiesta Mall in Mesa. The biggest thing with that would be like it would probably take another like 2 years and it would go to another public vote like everything else in the state would. Literally every chance that they would get to try to find a new place, you would have to put this to a public vote. You would have to put this to another referendum vote.
My opinion, what I think is most likely.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be sharing rent with the Phoenix Suns.
That was another big thing. Have we heard anything from Ishbia on that?
Nothing yet. He's got so much damn money. I wouldn't be surprised if he said,
what's his name? Matt Ishbia, right?
Matt Ishbia just took over for Sarver as the owner of the Suns. He's got a lot of money. He's a young guy, and I think having investments with the Arizona Coyotes wouldn't be the worst thing for him because that's more revenue that you're making inside that arena, and if
you're already there
to invest whatever money it takes to be able to improve sightlines so you can put in rinks and make it
right
usable.
Because sightlines for basketball and hockey are completely different.
They're different, and setups are different too. Look at the Barclays Center. What a disaster that was.
Oh god.
Because it was made for basketball and not for hockey. But if you're willing to put
shove the Islanders
you
in
can
there,
make it into both. And I think that it would be easier to do that in a place like Phoenix than it would be a place like Barclays.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I think it's likely that that's going to be what happens.
Well, I guess like we just need to hear from Ishbia.
Because at the end of the day, the reason I think that this is the most likely path is because this is the path that is not going to require you to go through an abundance of public voting.
Yeah, that, and it's like you're not really gonna make, like you said earlier, it's not gonna be the biggest advantage to relocate. That's like, that's your last minute ditch effort, right? That's if all goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If you have no other options, you move this franchise.
Yes, no doubt about it.
But there are options.
Yeah.
They're small options. Don't get me wrong, they're small options.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a way to keep the dogs in Arizona. God, I want the Coyotes to work so well. We've seen it with Vegas already so quickly.
Well, it's what happens when you have success. It's what I keep saying about Atlanta. If you just if you get stability and you don't suck ass for 10 years straight and
And
you
that
have
was
competent ownership, it's not an issue.
that is the comparison with Atlanta too. Like
It is there's a direct
making
correlation.
the correlation between Atlanta and Quebec with Arizona, right?
Mhm.
Denver had an arena.
Yeah.
Quebec City didn't. Winnipeg had an arena. Atlanta didn't. Tempe's not getting their new arena. What else do we do? Right?
Fuck if I know.
We're just Columbus fans.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just Columbus fans talking here on our Coyotes podcast.
Right. Speaking of another favorite team of ours, the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, what are the updates there? I haven't followed this one as closely. So
Now
you're gonna be me.
okay. The bids, the submission for the hard bid, right? Like the all-in bid, the serious bidders, right?
Yes.
Those were supposed to be submitted Monday at 5. They got 4 of them.
And Ryan Reynolds was not involved, right?
Ryan Reynolds, like we talked about in the episode that didn't go up last week, that the Remington group pulled out.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that Ryan doesn't want to be involved in one way, shape, or form with anybody
No,
else.
because he can probably buy some sort of stake in the like minority stake in the franchise at a later point in time too. That's always an option.
Right. He can join another one of these 4 bidders that actually have their binding bids in.
I think it's more likely that he just doesn't even join a bid at all, and he can honestly just sit back and wait and see whoever gets them and just join that way and buy a stake.
One of the bids was as high as $1 billion.
Shit.
Yeah. The 4 bidders include I'm getting all this from TSN.
Yeah.
4 bidders include groups led by Steve Apostopoulos, Michael Landlauer, the Neko Sparks group, which is the Snoop group, and Michael Kimmel. Apostopoulos, founder of the private equity firm 6 Ventures. Looks like he's tied with the Generals owner, the Oshawa Generals owner, Rocco Tullio. Apostopoulos recently lost out on a bid for the Commanders.
Okay,
DC.
I was wondering. I was like, this name sounds familiar. That's what it was.
It was the Washington bid, right?
Yeah.
And he was also interested to. He also had interest back when the NBA team in Charlotte was the Bobcats.
Interesting. Okay.
So he's been around.
So this is a guy who clearly cares about sports and wants an opportunity to, have ownership of a
He
team.
He already has a minority stake in Montreal. And he's also a member of the board of governors already. So he's got plenty of ties to the league.
Okay. So
to
that's
make
good.
Things work.
Excellent.
He's only 57. I'm literally just scrolling this article.
Yeah.
He'll have to sell his 10% share in the Habs. The belief is he's in talks with Andre Desmarais, the president and CEO of PowerCore in Montreal. And Lauer has to put together a group of investors, but would have controlling interest if they were to get the Sens.
Wow. Okay.
The Kimmel brothers, they're from the Harlow Financial Group based out of Toronto, former minority owners of the Penguins, and attempted to buy the club outright before it was sold to Fenway.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They were rumored to have bought in Toronto native, and they were the Weeknd's group.
Kimmel brothers. Gotcha.
I'm just, as I'm going through this, that's where the Weeknd was affiliated with. So the Weeknd and Snoop both have binding bids in the Senators.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, here
then. Neko Sparks entered the talks late. His group includes Snoop Dogg. He reportedly has the backing of British businessmen David and Simon Rubin. Senators ownership could try so basically the Melnick family right now could try to marry some of the bids together to create a wider ownership group if not a single bidder pans out. Dude, mesh them, Weeknd and Snoop. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Put them together. But there's also the decision of whether the new ownership group wants to build a new arena in downtown Ottawa. Senators missed the yeah. So basically, the 4 bids we have are Andlauer, Neko Sparks, Apostopoulos, and the Kimmels.
Wow.
And they move forward from there. I don't know how that process will continue because I'm not financially savvy like that.
Yeah, I'm not either, but this is really good news for the Ottawa Senators, and I'm happy for them. This is a good step forward for them, and hopefully this new era of Ottawa Senators hockey, you'll see people who are willing to spend money, and we'll see a team that can maybe get over that hump and finally up.
Well, that's the thing is ever since Eugene passed,
They've spent money.
They've spent money. And the his daughters were like, we don't have a problem with it. You hockey guys do your thing, and we're just trying to learn the business, right? Because they were recent college grads when their dad passed a couple of years ago.
God, could you imagine graduating college and you're like, all right, got my degree, time to check on how the Ottawa Senators are doing because currently in the ownership.
Because let's see how our hockey team is doing. Oh, you mean you guys have a little team that you play for? No, we own the Ottawa Senators.
God, that data analytics project was very hard. Got to take this. Alex DeBrincat.
I know we've got I've got plenty of Ottawa fans that are friends on Discord, because they're infectious. Those guys in that
It's a
Ottawa
good fan base.
They're a great
It's a
fan
really
base.
good fan base.
And there's those guys, the people that I interact with, Oakley and Giant Pie and Ice Queen and all those usernames. Milk Bag even he makes a bunch of weird Photoshop shit post. Yeah, he's great. Those core people are the epitome of the chaos.
The sickos.
The sickos. Yeah, they're all sickos, and I love it.
I love them. Sens fans are kings of sickos fan base. I'm not gonna lie, and I love it. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're so much fun.
I got a love for Ottawa, and
well, they have the perfect captain to be a sicko too. Look at Brady.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
It's I'm excited to see where this goes. Pie is on the side of Andlauer.
What does 3.14 have to do with that?
That could be how much money they spent. $3.14 million.
You just mentioned Brady Kachuk. Shall we talk about his brother?
Give me 2 seconds on that. Because one more thing is we know that the Neko Sparks group is invested in the NFT kind of game, and that's where all that money's coming from.
Ugh. No thanks.
But that's the Snoop group, though.
Still, no thanks.
No thanks. Right. It's dude, why?
Unless the NFTs are all weed related, then what are you doing?
It's you don't have liquid assets to make that work. Andlauer does seem like the best bet, does he not?
He does.
Because I mean, he's been around the league. He knows how this works.
Yeah. Having someone who's already part of the board is big.
Right. Ryan, if you're listening, I doubt it, but if you're listening, maybe go join Andlauer's bid while you're at it.
Yeah.
All right. Conference finals to wrap this up. We got the Canes and the Panthers in the East, and I love it. Southern Conference Finals all throughout this.
Yes.
Like we
The
talked about
most northern team remaining is Vegas.
How does that sound, people?
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Forget about not having a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup final. You don't have any team north of Nashville in the conference finals.
Like we talk about teams in the South, and Nashville's got to be the northernmost of that, right?
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
I'm assuming if my geography is wrong, then I
well, I wasn't the best
I
at
feel like
geography either.
Yeah. You get like people I think you'll get the gist here. Like these are South teams, and it's awesome. We talk about growing the game all the time. I'm sick of people crying about, oh, nobody's gonna. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna watch this. I'm excited for this. Dallas and Vegas and Carolina and Florida. This is awesome for the league.
You should see my friend Grace's TikTok about this and how it's just like you have the 4 non-traditional markets, and then you have all the traditional markets crying about it.
Yeah, because like I get so sick and tired of people like who are big hockey fans talking about, oh, you gotta grow the game, man. You gotta find ways to continue to grow the game and
grow the game, but not like that.
Yes, you get 4 non-traditional markets, and they're like, this is not what we meant.
It's like we want to grow the game, but we don't want you guys to be successful. What are you doing?
It's like you look at people in the media as well as a lot of hockey fans on Twitter talking about this shit, and it's like, do you just want the Final Four every year to be like Boston and Montreal, and then like Chicago and whoever in the West? Like,
right.
Can we stop it with the we need to have some original sixes in there. We need the big no, we don't. What makes the league stronger are matchups like this.
Well, people, we reference history and we talk about the original expansion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how it was like a lot of the teams that we see success from now, like the Kings didn't win a cup for 50 years. The Blues didn't win a cup for 52.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't see people crying about the Kings and the Blues being successful.
Right. And those are not small markets.
You don't see
LA's gigantic.
You don't see people crying about what's going on with Anaheim or San Jose. Granted, San Jose hasn't won their cup yet, but like they've gone on deep runs and people have been excited.
I didn't see people bitching about San Jose when they made it to the cup final in 2016.
Exactly. I never saw people bitching about Anaheim in 2007. Granted, I was 10.
Right, but we saw Nashville or
Nashville's run.
Final. That was Nashville and Anaheim in the conference final in 2017. I don't remember people complaining about that.
Yeah, and Nashville in the cup final was brilliant. It was awesome.
Yeah, we had back-to-back years of the Penguins, who were, great market, great team, great city, winning Stanley Cups, going up against 2 kind of underdogs from non-traditional markets that people kind of enjoyed watching. And then it's like people think every year it should be a mix. Where it's like every year it's David versus Goliath. We can't have a Final Four of all Davids. I disagree. Disagree.
Well, okay. If we're going to talk about David versus Goliath, by the way, game 1 between Hurricanes and Panthers is underway, and the Canes are up 1-0 right now.
Who scored?
Let me check. Seth Jarvis.
Wow,
from current Conn Smythe front runner Sebastian Aho and Brent Burns.
Can't believe Brent Burns is going to win it.
So yes, the biggest story about this is the fact that you have 4 non-traditional markets, which at the same time, there's a bit of tradition there because you have the Hartford history with the Hurricanes and you have the North Stars history with Dallas Stars.
Right.
Like you have former history in this final or in this conference final.
Teams, yeah. So like one thing, so we're talking about 4 teams that are all very south. There's only 2 Stanley Cups combined between the 4 franchises. The Hurricanes won back
2006
in
and
the
then
Dallas Stars
in
won in
1999.
The Florida Panthers made the Cup final in '96. The Golden Knights made the final in 2018. So at least every team has made it to a final before.
But it's been a while since any of these guys have really kind of done anything.
Yeah, I mean, so it's been more recent in the West, where, as I mentioned, Vegas was in the final in 2018. Dallas was in the final in 2020.
They are a rematch of the 2020 Western Final.
Yeah,
like we said earlier.
But Carolina hasn't made the Cup final since 06, and the Panthers haven't made the Cup final since 96. So,
the East is going to be the one to watch.
I think this is also Florida's first conference final since '96, and
it is.
This is their first conference final since 2019 when they got swept by the Bruins.
Right.
So you're looking at this is exciting.
This is very exciting.
About, sometimes you can get sick of the same team winning over and over and over again. Sometimes.
Why are we getting sick of new teams? Does this make any sense?
Sick of? The Golden Knights, who haven't won a cup. The Dallas Stars, who haven't won since
the year you were born.
It was before I was born, if you think about it.
Yeah, the year you were born, and
So they won the cup probably in June, so it was probably a month before I was born. You've got Carolina, who won when I was 7.
Right, and you have the Panthers, who've never won.
Whose last cup final appearance was 3 years before I was born.
A year before I was born.
What are we doing here? This is fantastic for the game, and
It's amazing, and you have such amazing talent all throughout all 4 of these rosters. Let's start in the East, like we should have done 10 minutes ago.
We'll lightning around this.
Yeah,
we'll be talking about this series more and more.
Of course. Hurricanes getting led by obviously Sebastian Aho and his band of Merry Men and Jordan Martinook of all guys. If we want to talk about the depth that this team has,
leadership, baby. Let's just get into predictions. Let's just do predictions.
Okay. Oh God. Go first.
Okay. I'm going to go with Carolina at 6 here. I love what Florida's done this postseason, but I think Carolina has better defense. They have more depth and more security in that. They've got, Freddie Anderson goes down, they got Antti Raanta and Pyotr Kochetkov. One of those other guys goes down, they have the other guy remaining. Doesn't matter. They have 3 guys who are all basically on the same level. They're fine in that. I think top 6 is pretty even. Bottom 6 is pretty even. As far as forward matchup, I'm very interested to see how that goes. But the difference to me is, as much as I love Paul Maurice, I think the Canes have the edge at head coach and on the blue line. So I'm going Canes in 6.
Can we talk about Brittany and Maurice for a second? Because Maurice coached that 2002 team that Brindamore was on.
Yeah,
that made it to a conference final, and now they're facing off as coaches.
Well, they were in the cup final.
Oh, it was the cup final.
Against the Red Wings, yeah.
God, that's crazy, right? It's kind of fun, isn't it? All right, for me, I'm gonna go Florida in 7.
I don't blame you.
Because
it's hockey.
It's hockey. I love the Hurricanes and I love the roster makeup. I love Brent Burns leading the charge with Jacob Slavin on the back end.
Yeah, and they got some Brett Pesce, Brady Shea.
Yes, Jalen Chatfield's been great. Yeah. They have the depth there with guys like Marty and Nason and Jarvis.
Kotkaniemi has been stepping up.
Kotkaniemi's been great.
Playoff performer.
Yeah, and then obviously your top end guys with Aho and Turbo. Yeah, they do have Turbo back, which is great. Funny, one Turbo stays, the other one goes. Poor Tanev. They do have the edge in coaching, I would say, in terms of systems. And you touched on everything lineup wise from the Carolina end. From the Florida end, though, premier talents in Sasha Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk. You have guys like Sam Reinhart and Bennett who are monsters. They're dogs out there. Nick
Yeah, and Bennett's
Cousins
a
too.
playoff performer. Like that's a guy who every year like
That
steps up his game in
second
the playoffs.
line that took the Leafs out of it with Tkachuk and Bennett and Cousins.
And Cousins has been phenomenal. That guy's going to get some.
Those guys are going to be a problem in the Aho line side all series long.
That is the matchup I would want because as much as I like Sebastian Aho and the skill of that line, they can get their edge physically on them.
Exactly. And that's, they have the depth forwards in the Stahl brothers, or in like they have the depth in the Stahl brothers and a few other things. Gudis, Aaron Ekblad, Forsling. God, how many teams are regretting not having Gustav Forsling right now?
Right, yeah.
It's like they just have such a talented, like they just don't go away, right?
Yeah, that's the
biggest thing is they don't go away.
They really are some pesky cats. Because
they started as a wild card team, dude. They're the ultimate Undercats.
There, I like that.
I stole that directly from
we're not
going to
talk about this today because we frankly don't have the time. But one thing I liked about what Kyle Dubas said in his press conference was he referenced the Florida Panthers. Oftentimes we talk about teams needing to make moves in the offseason to get better. How do you define getting better? Everything is always centered around the Stanley Cup in the sport. Doesn't matter. Like if you're a team that's trying to compete, like we expect you to compete. What? We expect you to compete for Stanley Cups.
Yes.
So you can go out and win the President's Trophy.
Sure.
And then be a second wildcard team the next year and get better. We don't mean you're actually better on the ice because you're not just regular season. You're winning the more important games.
All that matters is making
6 less games in the regular season, but if you make the playoffs and it results in 3 more wins in the postseason, well, what difference does that make?
All that matters is make it there. Doesn't matter how.
Then do it.
Make it there and get the job done. And the Panthers are getting the job done.
And they did it when they went out and they traded away 2 franchise cornerstones in Uyghur and Huberdeau to get Tkachuk. What a deal, man.
Aaron Ekblad and Gustav Forsling on your top pair, obviously wonderful. I love me some Aaron Ekblad.
Gudis is just an absolute dog.
Gudis is a monster.
Brandon Montour's phenomenal.
Brandon Montour's having a career year, and I love this for him.
And Mark Stahl's been pretty steady. Ever since
the Pride stuff kind of faded away, which don't take that the wrong way, people. We're not saying that we're not going to stop talking about that. Yeah. But ever since the playoffs began and we started putting the playoffs more on the front burner, Stahl brothers have been pretty good and quiet about it.
They've played well.
They've played well.
They've made an impact. It sucks because
you know what's fun?
I'm excited about the fact that we're getting 3 brothers playing in a series together.
I was gonna say we're getting Eric and Mark versus Jordan. This is really fun.
They picked the absolute worst year to have all 3 of them play in a series together.
Ugh.
Hey, we're finally gonna have all 3 of us playing a series together, and it's gonna be right after we refuse to wear pride jerseys.
Right. Yeah, Jesus. That's tough. And then obviously in net, our boy Bob is back, man.
I said this on Twitter. I'll say it here again. I'm thrilled.
I'm so happy to see Bob doing well.
Completely shed the playoff choker label. I'm beyond depressed that it didn't happen here.
I know. The sweep was great. The sweep was amazing.
2019 was the start of it.
Yes, and that was we'll never forget it, and we're so grateful for that.
And I'm not saying that the Blue Jackets, oh man, in hindsight, the Blue Jackets should have given him an 8-year contract extension for 10. No, I'm not saying that. They should
No,
not.
no.
But man, the things I would have done to have gotten to a conference final with Bob and Ned, man.
I know. I miss him. I still have the jersey hanging up. I kind of wanted to wear it tonight.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
I'm not lying.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for him. I really am.
I'm very happy for him. And then you have Alex Lyon backing him up, who's, he's done
He was
well.
a fantastic story, and he helped them get to this point. They need to rely on him for 3 playoff games. He was able to get them a win. They wrote him to get to the playoffs to begin with. He is a big part of the Florida Panthers.
Right. And it's funny because his last name's Lyon.
Right.
We got to get to the West, and we really got to wrap this up.
Yes.
Because we said we weren't going to ramble, and we rambled because that's just how we work.
The Stars will be shining in the West again over Vegas. I don't think it's going to be in a 5-game series like last time. I think this is going to Game 7. And
here's the thing:
in Game 7s with Pete DeBoer.
Here's the crazy thing, and we can talk about Pete in a minute. Unlike, this rematch, there's going to be fans and there's going to be home ice advantage.
Yep. This is one of the tougher ones to predict because both teams are playing at a very, very, very high level.
Yes.
Both teams, I like what I see in net with Aiden Hill. I like what I see in net and Jake Ottinger. I like what I see on defense with Shea Theodore and Alex Petrangelo on one side. And then I look at the other side and I see Miro Heiskanen and Essa Lindell, Ryan Suter. Like I love both these rosters.
There's a lot of unsung heroes on the Stars.
Both of these goalies, both of these cities. God, but you know what? I look at these. The reason I'm picking Dallas is because I think this is a series that should go 7 games. Okay. And the track record shows that if it goes to a 7th game, Pete DeBoer will prevail.
Okay. This is hard. I don't want to do this just for the sake of being a contrarian, but I kind of want to do it for the clicks.
It doesn't matter to me. At the end of the day, we're in agreement that this is an even.
But it's going to be an amazing series, right? And we don't have a dog in this fight.
No, absolutely not.
So, fuck it. I'm going to do it for the Golden Knights in 6.
I like that you picked them in 6 rather than 7. You're like, they're not going to do it in Game 7. It's got to be a 6.
No, it has to. Well, that's the Leaf fan brain too, right? It's like, no, it's got to be in 6.
Like, it can't go.
Well, because Vegas and San Jose back in the day too.
Yeah.
Back when that went to a Game 7, that was a disaster.
Well, funny. Who did the high stick come up on?
Joe Pavelski.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Ageless Wonder Joe Pavelski is getting to play these guys again for the 3rd time in 5 years?
Yeah.
Whew. I think the difference, though, is, Joe...
4th time in 5 years. Yeah, you're right.
3rd time.
4th.
4th?
2018, Vegas beat San Jose. 2019, San Jose beat Vegas.
Oh, right.
Yeah, 4th. 4th time.
I don't know why I forgot 2019.
That's insane. That is insane how many times this dude's played that. They got to be so sick. That is not a guy I'd want to play over and over and over again.
Now, okay. It's because I give Bruce the overall coaching edge over Pete DeBoer.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would. Yeah.
And
I give Pete the edge in Game 7s, but
yeah. And okay, let's just talk about this now. 7-0?
Absurd.
What
Not
the hell?
First year Pete DeBoer is one of the greatest coaches in NHL.
First year Pete DeBoer
Anytime he goes to a team in their first year, it's ridiculous.
Right. So, and no wonder he's in a Western Conference final right now.
Yes.
And he was in a Western Conference final his first year in Vegas.
And he went to the Cup final with the New Jersey Devils back in 2011, 2012.
And he went to a Cup final with Florida.
Did he really?
Or at least a conference final in Florida, right?
He was I don't think so. He was only there for 3 years. He went to a Cup final with San Jose.
Cup final with San Jose. Okay. But he did have a good run in Florida.
So like
Right.
it's interesting when you look at his track record in like the early stages of any tenure. Like, why don't teams just sign this guy to 2-year deals?
Right, yeah. Oh boy.
We're just gonna give you a shitload of money for 2 years, and we're not gonna fire you. We're just not gonna renew your contract.
We're just gonna let you do your thing, and yeah. So roster breakdown, I guess, lightning round. Vegas running on forwards with Stoner and Eichel and Stevie, like that's your top line.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Stevenson, Eichel, and Stone.
Yeah.
Unless they have somebody else on that left side. I don't know what the lines have looked like.
And part of the reason we don't know is because we haven't had a chance to watch every game because they are always on at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, thank God for that one Sunday coming up, right? For a 3 p.m. start.
Gary.
It's novel. Thanks, Gary.
Gary.
Yeah, Gary. But yes, so you got your headliners and Eichel and Stone and Theodore and Petrangelo, but you have guys like McNabb and White Cloud on the back end. You have your Aiden Hill back there.
And then, like, I think the two most important forwards in this series are the OGs, in my opinion. Like, what
Marshy and Smith, absolutely.
Marshy and Smith.
And
Those guys are X factors in this series.
And Bill. Let's not forget our boy Bill.
Yep, absolutely. I agree. Because
congrats to Wild Bill for getting some dad strength for this series, man. Like that's to him.
You're gonna get the production from Eichel and Stone.
Yes.
Stevenson's
going to
need the secondary scoring. They got it in the series against Edmonton. That's why they won. They need it again if they're going to beat Dallas.
Right.
And I look at Dallas. The reason I'm confident about Dallas is getting secondary scoring too. Let me show you the breakdown of their points really, really quick. Obviously, first is Rope Hintz. He's got 19 points. He's
been great. A hat trick and like, oh my God.
Who is third on the team in the playoffs in points with 11?
Third. Evgeny Dadonov.
Would it be Columbus Blue Jackets legend Max Domi?
Oh, is it now?
Yeah. Evgeny Dadonov is sixth on the team with 9 points.
6 with 9.
Yeah.
That goes to show you, that also just goes to show you, how deep the points are being distributed.
Yeah, so you're getting really good production from Max Domi. Jamie Benn is tied for fourth with Pavelski for points.
Nice.
Playoffs.
Good on Jamie. That's what you need.
Dagan's got 9 points.
That's what you need from these guys.
Got 7. Mason Marchment has 4 goals and 6 points.
Oh,
he
love it.
Eagles too. Like this team has such a mix of everything because we mentioned how proficient they are defensively, but also with a guy like Yee-Hawkey who can bring some toughness and he's a bigger body.
Is he going to be available to start? Because I heard he got hurt.
Good question. Mason Marchment's a very physical guy. Obviously, Jamie Benn is willing to do that. Joe Pavelski is willing to do that. Max Domi is willing.
Oh yeah, Max will go. Yeah.
God, I really, really do think Dallas is going to win that series, and I hope they do because I really like them.
Okay. As much as we give shit to the Vegas organization for how they've portrayed themselves,
yes,
over the last few years, with going out and getting the big pieces and being shitty to their players and their coaches and everybody to do so.
We should say this. They've been good about it this year.
Yes.
Nothing like that this year from them.
Nothing egregious this year. And they still find their ways to win. They still find their ways to be competitive, and they're a force. And think about the crowd energy that you're going to get from both the American Airlines Center in Dallas and in the Fortress in Vegas.
Yeah.
The Fortress is going to be huge for the Golden
All
Knights.
4 of these locations are going to give you excellent playoff.
The energy in this conference final is going to be off the chain, through the roof. And that's even coming from
a final I want to see. I like all these teams. I really
literally, out of all 4 of these, any cup final would be fine with me.
I think the final I'd like to see most is Stars Panthers, but I'm not going to be upset at any other combo.
No. You know what? I kind of I know I said Panthers in 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Said Panthers in 7 and Golden Knights at 6. That's what I want to see. And you know why I want to see it? Neither team has their cup yet.
Yeah.
Either way, we would get a first-time cup winner.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just be amazing?
Yeah. Like, the team that wins the cup this year is either going to be winning their first or their second.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
It's a huge, awesome. Okay, and this is what we're going to end on, is the grow the game argument, I guess.
This is the way to do it.
This is the way you do it. I
can't think of a better way.
Why?
As far as NHL is concerned, just growing it within the national audience.
Yeah. And I hope they market this correctly, because God knows we know they don't in so many years. You know,
people need to understand that viewership doesn't represent growth. Sure, a Stanley Cup final between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Boston Bruins, like we had in 2013, will give you the most amount of viewers.
Yes.
But that's because that's the 2 of the biggest fan bases in the league all watching. That means people, you're not growing the game that way. You're just maximizing your already.
Yeah, you're maximizing output.
You might not, you're not going to get as many people to watch a Dallas versus Florida Stanley Cup final, but what you are going to get is you're going to get a shitload more of people who don't watch hockey in Florida, who are nearby in Miami or in Sunrise. Mm-hmm. Suddenly they're watching the cup final. People around Dallas who maybe, don't watch the Stars, but we're big Cowboy fans or whatever, Mavericks fans, whatever. Well, suddenly I have interest in watching the Stars.
I want to see the Stars now. I want to see them do well. And
watch them in a final that's not in a freaking bubble like 2020.
Right. Yeah. And get to experience the atmosphere in that arena. And in Raleigh, we already know Carolina fans are rabid.
Yeah, it's a great fan base.
It's an amazing fan base.
An unbelievable Twitter account too.
Oh yeah, they're
the graphic they posted today.
I saw both. I saw all the graphics.
That is top-notch work, man.
All the graphics up to this point, like the flooding the devil horns and the freezing the devil horns in the second round, and
the here kitty with
the here kitty was super funny.
That pick goes so hard.
It was so good.
That's so cool.
And I think 3 out of 4 of these teams do have very fun social media presences.
Yeah, I mean, we already know someone who works in Vegas, so I enjoy their content. So if we're just going by content for the pages, their Twitter accounts, the final you would want is Carolina versus
Carolina Vegas.
But I really, really, really want to see Dallas and Florida. I think it'd be so fun.
I want to see Vegas, Florida. But either case, we got the conference finals.
We both said Florida, but this is nothing against Carolina. We both like them.
No, exactly.
This is how great the Final Four is. We're not going to be upset about who wins.
Right, and your pick is Carolina, but still.
Yeah. And they'd be my pick to win the cup as of right now. Like the idea of Rod Brindamore
Yeah.
the
You're
second
right.
time
You're right.
Hurricane, doing it once as a player and once as a coach.
No,
That
I
is-
know. Like,
the
I'm just trying to.
visual
Yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah, it is. Especially because he still doesn't look much different from when he was player.
No, he actually looks more in shape.
He looks better as a coach now.
Yeah.
I just have one question for you to end this podcast.
I'm excited. Bring it up.
Are you ready, Jay Ashdown, for some Yee-Hawkey?
Yeah, I am. I'm all in.
Let's fucking do this, man.
Grab
We'll
me my
see y'all.
cowboy boots. I'm so excited.
We'll see y'all when
Yep.
we see y'all next. And hey, shout outs to all of our fans and friends that are in the conference finals. Shout outs to our Sens buddies. Shout outs to our Arizona friends.
Yeah,
Oh my
major shout
God.
outs to our brothers and sisters in Arizona.
We just want the best for y'all. We
We
really,
do.
really do. And we want you to stay
Badly.
because we know you love this team.
And we know you deserve this team.
It sucks that
And
this
you
team
deserve, you
well,
don't just deserve a team, you deserve a winner.
this team loves you back. The organization does not.
Yes.
And that's the biggest shame of all.
Yeah.
But hey, it's Yee-Hawkey time. Let's get this done. Bye, everybody.
Jake Jackets, a podcast for fifth liners and all puckheads around. Follow the guys on Twitter at Snake Garinger, GARRINGER, and at by Jay Ashdown. And subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. March on.